Most investors experience losses not due to bad luck, but because they fail to grasp how to safeguard their capital. In a society fixated on expansion, profit, and risk-taking, Benjamin Graham was an outlier, modestly demonstrating that the initial step toward wealth is understanding how to avoid bankruptcy. He was Warren Buffett's mentor, the originator of value investing, and a pioneer of logical finance. However, what set Graham apart was not merely his intellect. It was his self-discipline. He advocated that the core of investing lies in defense rather than aggression. If I were 25 again, facing the start of 2026, I wouldn't pursue anything extravagant. I wouldn't get caught up in excitement, algorithms, or some cryptocurrency miracle claiming to convert $1,000 into $1 million overnight. I'd concentrate on something much rarer: the skill to remain logical when others are losing their composure. I've discovered this. Earning money is less about being smart and more about having the right mindset. A composed thinker outlasts a clever one every time. I've witnessed brilliant individuals go bankrupt because they couldn't manage their feelings, while average people quietly amassed wealth because they could maintain control. The market doesn't reward intelligence. It values perseverance. It favors those who remain engaged long enough for compounding to work its subtle wonders. People often inquire, "What's your trick? How do you achieve 30% returns each year?" The reality? There's no trick. Just a handful of straightforward practices consistently applied over time, along with a firm dedication to avoid making foolish choices. The first rule: never go broke. If you deplete your funds, you're out of the game. There are no second chances. The primary rule of investing centers on survival, not returns. Shield your losses, and the profits will follow. The second rule: make significant bets only when the chances are heavily in your favor. The world values patience. There are perhaps 2 or 3 genuinely remarkable chances in a decade. Those moments when logic, timing, and value all come together. Most of the time, your responsibility is to wait. The third rule: operate within your area of expertise. If you don't completely grasp how a business generates revenue, don't invest in it. You don't have to be knowledgeable about everything, just the few areas you understand thoroughly. Once you venture outside that zone, you're gambling rather than investing. The fourth rule: embrace boredom. True investing lacks excitement. It's not about rushes of adrenaline or sensational headlines. It's acquiring quality companies at fair prices and then remaining inactive. That inaction is the toughest part. The impulse to take action is the investor's most significant adversary. However, boredom is where the magic of compounding occurs. Quietly, unseen, like a seed nurturing underground before it emerges. The fifth rule: think critically. Instead of seeking excellence, steer clear of folly. You don't have to be accurate all the time. You simply need to avoid catastrophic errors. The top investors don't hunt for flawless strategies. They concentrate on eliminating preventable mistakes. Rule number 6: get control of your mindset before attempting to control the market. The movement of markets is influenced by human feelings, specifically fear and greed. If you cannot regulate your own emotions, you will always be vulnerable to their influence. The stability of your investments will reflect the condition of your mindset. Rule number 7: allow time and the power of compounding to do the work for you. Many individuals desire to see their money double within a year. Personally, I prefer to see it double every 10 years while retaining it. The process of compounding begins slowly, very slowly. Then, all of a sudden, it becomes unstoppable. Those who allow it the necessary time are typically the ones who appear to be brilliant in the end. And finally, rule number 8: keep your ego in check. Ego ruins more wealth than misfortune ever could. As soon as you start to think you're infallible, you've ensured your downfall. I've always relied on a straightforward question rather than a complex theory. Could I be mistaken? That one question has saved me a fortune. In contrast, I've watched individuals with advanced degrees, complex formulas, and forecasting models lose everything because they mistook detail for comprehension. They constructed intricate frameworks that seemed impressive until one unpredictable choice by a person shattered it all. You don't require complexity to generate income. You need clarity. Clarity stems from humility, recognizing what you know, understanding what you don't, and remaining firmly within those limits. To me, humility is a form of managing risk. It reduces your potential losses by reminding you of how little you truly understand. It allows you to remain adaptable, open to feedback, and stay in the game long enough for experience to accumulate. Ego, conversely, turns minor errors into major catastrophes. It drives you to invest more when you should acknowledge your losses. It tries to convince you that you're the exception just before the market proves otherwise. I have never witnessed a humble person go bankrupt due to being cautious. However, I've seen countless arrogant individuals ruin their fortunes because they couldn't admit, I was wrong. That's the hidden price of ego. It robs you of the chance to learn. And once you're done learning, you're out of the game. Humility is not a sign of weakness. It is strength cloaked in modesty. It sustains you when others succumb to overconfidence. The best investors I have known were not loud or grandiose. They were reserved, contemplative, patient, and overwhelmingly wealthy. They didn't try to predict outcomes. They adjusted to them. They didn't boast of their achievements. They persevered through challenges. They recognized that, over time, the results reward efficacy, not character. Thus, rule number 8, perhaps the hardest lesson to grasp, stands firm. Diminish your ego before it diminishes your investments. You don't need to be exceptionally smart. You just need to be open to learning. You don't have to be the loudest. You just need to eventually be correct. Humility helps maintain your finances, and sustained financial stability over many years surpasses occasional genius bursts. Most individuals don't fail due to lack of intelligence. They fail because they lack patience. They seek thrill rather than resilience. They desire excitement instead of discipline. Everyone wants to take action. Almost no one wants to wait for results. But self-restraint, that quiet choice to refrain from giving in to every impulse, is the rarest and most lucrative quality in finance. Complexity may comfort the foolish. Simplicity can frighten them. Because simplicity requires patience, and patience demands humility. That's why we continue to see ordinary investors and wealthy brokers. The investors follow their feelings. The brokers gather their commissions. I have yet to see a logical investor go bankrupt, but I've witnessed thousands who let their emotions lead them to financial ruin. The distinction lies not in intellect, but in temperament. A calm disposition outlives a clever one. When you achieve true rationality, your life may appear dull to outsiders. There's no excitement, no disorder, just steady advancement. Yet, that's the essence of genuine wealth: reliable, unwavering, and liberated. In my youth, I believed that achieving success was linked to intelligence. Now, I realize it centers around endurance. If you can remain patient, stable, and financially secure for 50 years, the numbers will take care of themselves. Opportunities will come your way simply because you are present to see them. Longevity surpasses flashes of brilliance, every time without exception. Highly educated individuals with elaborate models and flawless reasoning sometimes find themselves bankrupt because they thought the future could be anticipated. They confused accuracy with comprehension. They created complex equations with numerous variables and overlooked the fact that one unpredictable individual could disrupt their entire framework in an instant. The reality? You don't require complexity to earn money. What you need is clarity. And clarity stems from humility, recognizing your knowledge, acknowledging what you don't know, and operating within that scope. Ego, in contrast, flourishes on attention. It seeks validation, craves recognition, and desires admiration for its daring nature. However, true wealth is not about seeking applause. Wealth is rooted in perseverance. When you disregard others' opinions, you begin to compound your gains more quickly because your choices are guided by reason rather than image. That's the reason Warren and I never focused on how we ranked each quarter or on magazine features. Our primary concern was simply to avoid financial ruin. This humility, our quiet readiness to appear unexciting for years, allowed us to accumulate wealth beyond measure. Ego obstructs your view of potential. When you are overly self-focused, there's no space for fresh ideas. You stop educating yourself, you stop being attentive, and in a constantly evolving world, being arrogant is a recipe for failure. I have mentioned this previously, and I will reiterate it for anyone willing to hear. Life is an ongoing journey of learning. Those who continue to learn will advance. Those who believe they know enough will regress. The finest investors I have encountered were lifelong learners, curious, modest, and always willing to accept being corrected. The least successful? Those who felt entitled to success from the market. Ego drives you to pursue trends you don't grasp, all in an effort to appear involved. It leads you to trade excessively when being patient would yield greater rewards. It encourages you to brag when you should be focused on gaining knowledge. And, most detrimentally, it compels you to double down when you should simply acknowledge your failure. I have never witnessed a prudent person suffer financial loss due to humility, but I have seen many arrogant individuals lose everything because they could not admit, "I was wrong." That's the unrecognized cost of ego. It robs you of your capacity to learn. And when you stop learning, growth halts. Humility is not a sign of weakness. It is strength in disguise. It enables you to confront turmoil without breaking down. It maintains your liquidity when others are overwhelmed by their confidence. Have you observed this trend? The investors who thrive over many years are rarely the loudest voices. They do not make predictions, they adapt. They do not boast, they persist. They recognize that, in the long run, the scoreboard rewards outcomes, not egos. So if you take away nothing else, remember this. The eighth rule, the most challenging one, is straightforward. Diminish your ego before it diminishes your investments. You don't have to be exceptionally intelligent. You only need to remain open to learning. You don't need to be loud. You just need to achieve accuracy in due time. Humility keeps you financially stable. And over decades, stability, compounded, surpasses fleeting brilliance. The world is filled with intelligent individuals who couldn't maintain their wealth, and humble individuals who quietly succeeded. After nearly a century of observing the ups and downs of markets, here's my insight. The secret is not exceptional intelligence. It's about surviving. People squander their lives looking for quick fixes, new books, trendy ideas, new mentors, all attempting to outsmart a game that has remained unchanged since the very first trade. But the market has consistently favored a small number of behaviors, executed with determination over an extended period. Everything else is merely background chatter. Are you aiming for 30% annual returns? That's acceptable. Achieve them the one way they've always been achieved, by remaining composed while others are in a frenzy, by holding steady as others pursue activity, and by acquiring quality when it's mundane rather than when it's thrilling. There isn't a secret solution, only self-control, perseverance, and the capacity to disregard 99% of what is referred to as guidance. Let's summarize the enduring principles. Never run out of money. Ensuring your survival should come first. Only make significant bets when the circumstances greatly favor you. Remain within your area of expertise. Practice patience. Feeling bored can actually be beneficial. Think backwards. Steer clear of foolishness before pursuing excellence. Regulate your mindset before attempting to understand the market. Allow the process of compounding to do the hard work for you. And ultimately, keep your pride under control. Adhere to these principles, and achieving 30% yearly returns stops feeling impossible. They become straightforward calculations. However, the reality is that many individuals fail to achieve this. The guidelines might be too straightforward to impress, but are difficult to follow. Complexity can mislead the naive, while simplicity can frighten them because it calls for self-restraint. And self-restraint? It's one of the scarcest qualities in the finance world. Many people are eager to act, but few are willing to exercise patience. This is why the market keeps producing mediocre investors and wealthy brokers. I've never witnessed a logical individual go bankrupt. However, I have seen countless emotional individuals lose everything. The distinction isn't intelligence. It's emotional intelligence. A composed mind consistently outlasts a smart one, without exception. Interestingly, as you grow more logical, your life may appear boring from an external viewpoint. No excitement, no disorder, merely steady and gradual advancement. But that is what true wealth encompasses: calm, consistent, serene, not flamboyant, not exhilarating, just liberating. In my youth, I believed that greatness stemmed from brilliance. Now, I recognize it's about endurance. If you can maintain financial stability, mental clarity, and patience over 50 years, the numbers will work themselves out. The world will present you with opportunities simply because you've lived long enough to recognize them. Endurance and rational thinking will always outperform brief moments of genius. Most individuals will never grasp this concept. They will continue to gamble, speculate, and envy others. They will misinterpret luck as skill and chaos as expertise. They will keep asking, "What's the next big trend?" rather than asking, "What foolish error can I avoid today?" And when they experience setbacks, they will blame the market instead of looking in the mirror. I'm not more intelligent than the majority. I've simply made fewer unwise choices. That's all there is to it. That's the entire narrative. I didn't pursue thrills. I pursued rationale. I didn't aim for applause. I aimed for tranquility. And over time, those decisions led to wealth, not just in financial terms, but in wisdom as well. Because money is just one type of richness. Knowledge constitutes another. And as I aged, I became increasingly aware that wisdom also grows. If you continue to learn, constantly question, and reassess your thinking, the benefits will overflow into every aspect of your existence. This is what I mean when I say, gather all your energy and intelligence and dedicate it to becoming a bit wiser each day. Do this consistently enough, and wealth will follow quietly, steadily, and inevitably. So when individuals ask me, "Charlie, how can I achieve 30% annually?" I advise them, cease concentrating on returns. Begin focusing on your behaviors. Because behavior builds up quicker than capital. And practicing rational behavior for a lifetime transforms regular investors into legends. The principle of compounding is straightforward. The mindset behind compounding is different. Grasp both concepts. This will reveal how patience, rather than intelligence, governs success. If you let everything else slip your mind, hold on to this thought. You don't have to be remarkable to achieve remarkable outcomes. All you need to do is steer clear of foolishness long enough for the remarkable to take place. Ultimately, wealth was never about money. It was about discipline, patience, and humility. silent virtues that accumulate long after the applause has faded. Never forget, the real secret to investing isn't genius, but endurance. Stay sensible and humble, and time will take care of the rest. If this message and this video resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe. Not for advertising, but for a lifetime of wisdom. Sincerely,